Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the SEC championship matchup between the Georgia Bulldogs and the LSU Tigers. Both teams have had outstanding seasons getting to this point. You got Georgia, who is 12-0 on the season. This team is one of 3 undefeated teams remaining. The defending national champions are once again competing for an SEC title, and this team is pretty much a lock at this point for the college football playoff. It's just a matter of what seed they are. And the Bulldogs are very much potentially on the road to another national title. But they're taking on LSU in the SEC Championship. The Tigers are back from the dead. This team has won the SEC West once again, and they are in contention in this game for an SEC title. LSU beat out Alabama down the stretch to get to this position, and they're definitely looking to take advantage of it. Should make for a great matchup. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting with your team trends. Georgia beat Georgia Tech. 37-14 was the final score there. So a solid win for Georgia last week. That game was kind of slow to start there. I mean, Georgia Tech they were hanging around in the first half, but Georgia, as expected, did pull away, and they got the win by a few touchdowns there, 37-14. Once again, they're undefeated, 12-0 on the season. And for LSU, they lost to Texas A&M on the road, 23-38 was the final score. Definitely one of the stunners of Week 13, that's for sure. Texas A&M as bad of a season as they've had. And the Aggies, you would think, I mean, if you lose to Texas A&M, that's not a bad loss because Texas A&M is usually a decent national contender. But this season, it's been a different story. Texas A&M was 4-7 heading into that matchup. And so for you to lose, you just can't lose that game if you're LSU. And so now this team is 9-3 on the season. Their college football playoff hopes are pretty much gone, even if they do win this game. Which, I mean, if you look at heading into Week 13, if you beat Texas A&M, I mean, the Tigers are pretty much still a contender if they work to win this matchup. But at this point now with a 3-loss team here, your chances are pretty much gone. But still, once again, an outstanding season for LSU. This team to beat out Alabama and get back into this position for the first time since 2019, especially after a disappointing couple of years between 2020 and 2021. It definitely is impressive what LSU has done. Games around Saturday, December 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia. Kickoff is 4 p.m. Eastern. Spread's going Georgia by 16.5. So we'll see if that spread adjusts over the course of the week. But as of right now, I think the opening spread was like Georgia by 15, but it has since shifted to Georgia by 16.5 at this current point. Over-under is 50.5. And the FPI is also going with Georgia, 83%. So Bulldogs, especially after last week's showing by LSU, they are a significant favorite in this matchup. Series history, LSU leads at 18-13. Both teams are in separate divisions, so we really haven't seen these two teams play each other all that often, but we did see both teams play each other in 2018 and 2019. Both games resulted in dominant wins by LSU, something to keep in mind. But in the last 5, if you look before that, Georgia did win in 2013. That's the last time they have beaten LSU. That game was in Athens. And yeah, so overall LSU does lead the series 18-13, and they've also won 4 out of the past 5 in the series, even though we really haven't seen these two teams play each other very much in recent history. Stat comparison for this one, Georgia's 9th in points per game. This team is outstanding all around defensively. In particular is really where this team shines. They're only allowing 11 points a game. They are scoring an average of 38, which is definitely impressive, and that puts you in the top 10 in points per game. You're 20th in passing game, 14th in rush yards, and for yards allowed, 27th in passing, 1st in rushing. So you got the top-ranked rush defense here in Georgia, and you're going up against an LSU team that is primarily good in the rushing game if you're looking at their offense. So that is a pretty good matchup there for Georgia, having a rush defense that's only allowing like 79 yards a game for rushing, which is outstanding to say the least. And so for LSU, it's going to be tough. Jaden Daniels is going to have to pass the ball in order for this team to be successful in this game. I mean, their main way of attacking is on the ground. Of course, you got Jaden Daniels, who's an outstanding rusher himself. But that is something, to keep in mind for LSU there, as you're going up against the top-ranked rush defense in the country. As for LSU, they're 49th in points per game, 29th in points allowed, so a strong defensive team here, even though the offense has been good at times. 58th in passers a game, 36th in rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 47th in passing, 42nd in rushing. So if you look at Georgia offensively, at least, you got McIntosh as the top rusher, 600 yards on the season, 8 touchdowns. Obviously, the big name is Brock Bowers, the tight end for this team, who has caught 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. Stetson Bennett, the quarterback, has had a great season as well, over 3,000 yards, along with 16 touchdowns and 6 picks. This offense has gotten it done, even though they don't have too many big names offensively. But yeah, it's defensive. It's kind of the same thing as last season. Georgia, the offense was good. It wasn't anything just outstanding. Don't get me wrong, they're still an outstanding or a great team offensively. It's just the defense that has gotten them so much success, and that's how it was last season. That's definitely how it is this season as well, as they're only allowing 11 points a game. So, and that's once again exactly how it was last season. This team won a national title doing so. But yeah, for LSU, gonna have to pass the ball in this game for sure. You're gonna have to attack Georgia in both ways if you want any chance of competing with Georgia's defense. Recent matchups: Georgia beat Georgia Tech 37-14, beat Kentucky 16-6. They beat Mississippi State 45-19, beat Tennessee. That's obviously the huge win of the season to this point for the Bulldogs, 27-13. Tennessee was ranked as the top team in the country in that matchup, and Georgia also beat Florida 42-20. As for LSU, they lost to Texas A&M, beat UAB 41-10, beat Arkansas 13-10. They beat Alabama 32-31, beat Ole Miss 45-20. So, there's reason to believe why this team was widely recognized as the hottest team in the country going into the Texas A&M game. And they had won however many games straight. Plus, you got to consider that Alabama win. The Ole Miss win is also one not to be underestimated. It was ever since that loss to Tennessee back in the earlier parts of October. They lost to Tennessee 40-13. But since then, this team is just, they were super hot. They won 5 straight games, for the most part, over great opponents as well. And so, yeah, that Texas A&M game that loss definitely came out of nowhere. But otherwise, this team is one of the best teams in the country if you're looking at how they're playing right now. Key points: Georgia 12-0. This team is the most complete team in the country, you could say right now. Michigan is not far behind, as they just knocked off Ohio State. Michigan is, there's a good chance that at the end of the day, it's going to be Michigan and Georgia facing off for the national title. I just have a feeling that's what's going to happen based on how Michigan's playing right now and Georgia's defense, and obviously this team as a whole, the defending champs. This team has got good experience, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing finishes out, because I could see any of the top 6 right now winning it, but Georgia's very much in contention and potentially my favorite at this point to win the national title, just because of the experience this team has. But they're consistently dominant. The defense is outstanding, and they're pretty much a lock for the college football playoff once again. I would say even if they do lose this game, they're still pretty much a college football playoff lock. I can't imagine that they drop out of the top 4 unless something crazy happens in this game at this point, even if they do once again take a loss. But as for LSU, coming off of a stunning loss to Texas A&M, once again, that's one that I think came out of left field for most everybody. No one really expected that to happen. Jaden Daniels is a true all-around threat, and this team is, they've been an underdog for the majority of the season. They've proven people wrong time and time again. You look at the Ole Miss game, you look at the Alabama game, this team has proven people wrong. And here we are, and this team has a chance to do it again, this time for an SEC title. This is a huge opportunity for the Tigers here. So that's it. Let's get to the prediction here for Georgia and LSU coming up here in your SEC championship game. And I'm going to go with the Bulldogs to win this game 31-20. It's my predicted final score. Georgia, just too complete of a team to go against right now. And LSU coming off of their disappointing loss to Texas A&M, I do think that might have an impact in this game. LSU is not quite as hot as they were, say, a couple of games ago before that Texas A&M matchup. So Georgia, their defense is too strong. I just don't know if LSU can score a whole lot of points. And at this point, I do think Georgia can put up 30 or so on the Tigers. So I'll say 60% for Georgia, over-under 50.5. Give me the over barely in this one right now. We'll see how that over-under shifts over the course of the week, but as of right now, I've barely got the over and LSU to cover the spread in the end, which is currently it's more heavy towards Georgia, that's for sure, as they're currently favored by 16.5. But yeah, give me LSU to cover that spread in the end. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.